because he shouldn't be idolized the way that he is, and it was only right for us to replace it with Freedom and Liberation Day. So a few years ago, Dr. Bellamy wanted to celebrate Indigenous People Day. And so that was just a continuation of that work in removing, Thomas Jefferson birthday off the books, because he shouldn't be idolized the way that he is, and it was only right for us to replace it with Freedom and Liberation Day. Yes, receive pushback all the time on everything. Yes, we received pushback, but it was worth it when you're talking about people understanding the day where individuals were emancipated in our area. And there were a lot of staff members who didn't think that that is a day that should be celebrated, even though these same individuals never had an issue with Thomas Jefferson, being celebrated. But ultimately, I think that people are just seeking a day off. And the work we're doing as city leaders is what changing the day and what we're changing the day to actually speaks to. So they actually had two holidays for that one April 13th holiday. Yeah. So I guess it depends on who you're talking to. I mean, there's definitely some citizens who think that maintaining a street is more important than, someone having adequate housing, who don't feel that taxpayers are responsible for making sure that adequate housing, exists. And again, not understanding the structure of how they even have arrived at the point that they're at, to where they own or have ownership stake in, houses and on land that they do in the city. So I think the more education that people get around that, the more open they'll be to understanding that it should be our top priority to help the individuals who are most vulnerable. So because every conversation involves the conversation around race, and it's a conversation that people are still challenged by, and they're hoping that goes away. So it's difficult. And they want me to just stop talking and just focus just on the budget. Just allow them to present, why their belief system and why, and just understand it. Not to come to a mutual understanding, not even a compromise, but just I'm right. So it's a challenge. I had a guy that kept sending me emails about Thomas Jefferson, reinstating Thomas Jefferson birthday, or doing away with Freedom and Liberation Day, or having both. And I said, well, let's celebrate Freedom and Liberation Day for as long as we celebrated Thomas Jefferson's birthday as a city holiday, and then we can have this discussion at that point. Understanding that I was saying that to someone who hopefully took into consideration that if he is as of the age that I thought he was, in his, probably late 60s, that meant that we would be having this conversation, when he was over 100, right? And hopefully my goal there was not to say, let's have this conversation when you're no longer here, but more to get him to think about the fact that it had been celebrated for a very long time, and that no one opposed it, and that up until now it wasn't changed.
Mello, you a fool for this one, boy.
In 96 we was in the Estes parking lot. I'm not a talker, so you never hear me talk a lot. I'ma tell a story of what happened back then. It's the story of some enterprising black men. Y'all remember when Estes used to be jumping, the vendors out and somebody had the beats bumping. My man Papers, yeah, he got the mixtapes, the fly gear from up top. Yo, what up, Dave? Ronnie Anderson over on the chest.